He saw her kneeling on that dirty corner holding a sign, his ex-wife, the woman who vanished 8 years ago. But when she whispered those 3 words, his whole world stopped. What she told him next changed everything he thought he knew about love, betrayal, and family. Hey everyone, welcome back. Before we get into this story, do me a favor, hit that like button right now. Subscribe and turn on those notifications because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Atlanta, Chicago, Houston, or somewhere else. Let's build this community together. Now let me tell you about Damon Mitchell and the day that changed his entire life. The afternoon sun was burning hot, but Damon Mitchell didn't notice. He sat in the back of his black Mercedes, staring at his phone, scrolling through emails about his latest real estate deal. His driver, Jerome, was taking him to meet important clients. At 43 years old, Damon had everything. Custom suits that cost more than a used car, a watch worth someone's yearly rent, a mansion with rooms he'd never been in. He'd built his empire from nothing, became a billionaire through hustle and smart investments. But if you looked into his eyes, you'd see something missing, something money couldn't buy. Jerome glanced at him in the rearview mirror. "Sir, we're taking the route through the old district. Construction on the main road." Damon barely looked up. "Fine. Whatever gets us there faster." His voice was cold. That's how he talked to everyone now. It was easier that way. The car moved through the streets. First, they passed glass buildings, fancy restaurants, boutiques where a shirt cost $1,000. But slowly, everything changed. Buildings got shorter, older, paint peeling, streets full of potholes, people in simple clothes, carrying heavy bags, faces tired. Damon looked up from his phone. He didn't like this part of the city. It reminded him of things he'd tried to forget. 8 years ago, his life was different. He'd been happy, really happy, because 8 years ago, he had Gabrielle. Gabrielle with her smile that lit up rooms. Gabrielle with her laugh that made him feel lucky. Gabrielle who loved him when he was nobody, when he had more dreams than dollars. But then she left, disappeared in the night without a word, without goodbye. Just gone. The pain still lived in his chest like a knife. His mother, Lorraine Mitchell, told him over and over, "That girl didn't love you, Damon. She used you. Girls like that take what they can get, then run." After months of searching, after private investigators found nothing, after crying alone wondering what he'd done wrong, Damon believed it. Maybe his mother was right. The car slowed. Traffic was thick. Jerome sighed. "Sorry, sir." Lot of cars. Damon nodded, looking out without really seeing. An old woman selling fruit, 2 boys kicking a soccer ball, a man fixing a bicycle. Regular people, regular lives. Then the car stopped. Red light. Damon's eyes wandered across the street. That's when he saw her. On the corner, near a broken streetlight, a woman kneeling on concrete. She held cardboard. Even from inside the car, Damon could read it. "Please help. Need money for medicine." Her head was down, hair messy, tangled, clothes old, dirty, hands shaking. Damon felt something strange in his chest, something familiar. "Just another person on the streets," he muttered, trying to look away. But something pulled his eyes back. A car honked. The light turned green, but Jerome hadn't moved. "Sir?" Jerome asked. "Wait," Damon whispered. The woman shifted and wind blew her hair from her face, just for a second, and Damon saw her clearly. His body went ice cold, hands shaking, mouth dry, number, impossible. But he knew that face. He'd kissed it 1,000 times, memorized every detail during their 3 years of marriage. Gabrielle. The words screamed in his head. The woman looked up briefly, eyes so tired, cheeks thinner. She looked starved. But it was her. Gabrielle. His Gabrielle. The woman he'd loved more than life, the woman who'd broken his heart into pieces. "Stop the car!" The words exploded out of Damon's mouth. Jerome jumped. "Sir?" he said, confused. "Stop the car!" Damon shouted again, louder this time. Jerome quickly pulled over to the side of the road. Before the car had even fully stopped, Damon threw open the door and jumped out. His heart was pounding like a drum in a parade. His legs felt weak, like they might give out any second. His mind was spinning with a million questions, a million emotions, a million memories all crashing into him at once. He stood on the sidewalk, frozen, just staring at her across the street. Cars rushed past between them. Horns honked. People walked by, bumping into him, cursing at him for standing in the way. But Damon didn't notice any of it. All he could see was Gabrielle, his wife, his ex-wife, kneeling on the dirty ground with a cardboard sign, begging strangers for money. The woman who had once worn a white wedding dress and promised to love him forever. The woman who had danced with him in their tiny apartment kitchen at midnight. The woman who had kissed him goodbye every morning before he went to work, telling him she believed in him, telling him he was going to change the world someday. Now she was here, on the street, looking broken and desperate and so small. Damon felt like someone had reached into his chest and squeezed his heart until he couldn't breathe. All the anger he'd carried for 8 years suddenly mixed with shock and confusion and something else, something that felt like guilt, like pain, like his whole world was turning upside down. How did this happen? How did she end up like this? What happened to her? A businessman walked past Gabrielle and dropped a few coins into a cup by her feet without even looking at her, like she was invisible. Gabrielle whispered, "Thank you. God bless you." Her voice. Damon heard her voice even over all the noise of the street, that sweet, gentle voice that used to say, "I love you," every night before they fell asleep. Tears started forming in his eyes. He blinked them away, angry at himself. Number. I won't cry. She left me. She abandoned me. She deserves whatever happened to her. But even as he thought those harsh words, his feet were already moving. Walking toward the crosswalk, walking toward her, he couldn't stop himself. After 8 years of wondering, 8 years of anger, 8 years of emptiness, here she was, and he needed answers. The crossing light turned green. Damon stepped off the curb, and every step felt like walking through water. Heavy. Slow. Gabrielle still had her head down, staring at the cardboard sign in her hands. Damon stopped right in front of her. His shadow fell across her lap. She looked up slowly. Her eyes met his, and she froze. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. The cardboard sign slipped from her fingers and hit the ground. Her eyes went wide with shock, with fear, with something that looked like shame. "Gabrielle," Damon said. His voice cracked on her name. "Damon," she whispered. Just his name. Nothing else. For a long, painful moment, they just stared at each other. The noise of the city faded away. The people walking past disappeared. Time itself seemed to stop. 8 years of silence hung between them like a wall made of broken promises and unanswered questions. Gabrielle's lips trembled. Tears filled her eyes and spilled down her cheeks, leaving clean tracks through the dirt on her face. Damon's hands clenched into fists at his sides. 1,000 emotions crashed through him like waves trying to drown him. Shock, confusion, anger, pain, and something else he didn't want to name, something that felt like the love he'd tried so hard to kill. "How?" Damon started, but his voice failed him. He swallowed hard, trying to find words. Why are you... He couldn't finish. Because how do you ask someone you once loved more than breathing why they're kneeling on a dirty street begging for change? Gabrielle looked away, shame washing over her face like a wave. "I never wanted you to see me like this," she whispered. "Never." Her voice was so broken it hurt to hear. Damon's mind was spinning. 100 questions fought to come out all at once, but he couldn't make his mouth work. Gabrielle slowly stood up from the ground. Her legs shook like they might give out. She was so thin, so fragile. She looked like a ghost of the woman he remembered. "I should go," Gabrielle said quietly, wrapping her arms around herself. "No." The word exploded from Damon's mouth like a gunshot. "No, you don't get to run away again." Not this time. Gabrielle flinched like he'd slapped her. Damon took a deep breath, trying to control the storm inside him. Gabrielle, what happened to you? Where have you been? Why did you leave? His voice rose with each question. People walking by turned to stare, but he didn't care. Let them look. Let the whole world watch. He needed answers. You wouldn't understand, Gabrielle whispered, still looking at the ground. Then make me understand. Damon's voice was loud now, desperate. I came home and you were just gone. Do you have any idea what that did to me? I searched everywhere. I thought you were dead. I thought someone had taken you. And then months passed and I realized you just didn't want to be found. You just left. Why? Tears streamed down Gabrielle's face faster now. That's not true, she said. Then why? Damon's voice cracked. Why did you leave me? The question hung in the air between them. Gabrielle was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was so soft Damon had to lean closer to hear. Your mother. Damon felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. What? He breathed. Your mother, Gabrielle repeated, louder this time. She finally looked up at him and Damon saw so much pain in her eyes it took his breath away. She came to see me. Every week after we got married. At first it was just little comments. She'd call me stupid, tell me I didn't know how to dress right, said I was embarrassing the family name. Damon's chest tightened. Why didn't you tell me? His voice was barely a whisper. I didn't want to cause problems between you and your mother, Gabrielle said. I thought if I just tried harder, she'd accept me. But it got worse. She told me I was ruining your life, that everyone was laughing at you for marrying someone like me, someone from the wrong side of town, someone who didn't have money or education or connections. That's not, Damon started, but Gabrielle interrupted him. Please, let me finish. Her voice was shaking. I could have handled that. I really could have. But then, she stopped. Her whole body was trembling now. Then she made threats. Real threats. Damon's hands began to shake. She said if I truly loved you, I would leave, Gabrielle continued, her voice breaking. She said she would destroy my life if I stayed. She said she had the money and power to make sure I could never work anywhere, never live anywhere. She said she would make me disappear and you'd never know what happened to me. No, Damon breathed. No, she wouldn't do that. But even as he said it, he knew it was a lie. He knew his mother. Knew how she valued reputation and status above everything else, even above her own son's happiness. I was so scared, Gabrielle sobbed. I was alone. She was so powerful and I had nobody. I didn't know what to do. I thought if I left, maybe you could move on. Maybe you could find someone she approved of. Would you have believed me? Gabrielle asked quietly. If I'd told you? Would you have chosen me over your own mother? The question hit Damon like a knife, because he didn't know. 8 years ago, he'd been different. His mother had controlled so much of his life. Would he have believed Gabrielle? Or would he have thought she was lying, trying to come between him and his family? There's something else, Gabrielle said, her voice so quiet Damon almost didn't hear her. Something you need to know. She looked up at him, and her eyes were filled with fear and hope and pain all mixed together. I was pregnant when I left. The world stopped. Everything stopped. Damon couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't move. What? He whispered. I was pregnant, Gabrielle repeated. I found out 2 days before I left. I was going to tell you that night, but your mother came to see me that afternoon. She made her final threat, said if I didn't leave, she would take everything from me, including my baby. No, Damon said, but it didn't sound like his voice. You have a daughter, Gabrielle said, and now tears were streaming down her face like rivers. Her name is Kennedy. She's 7 years old. She has your eyes, your smile. She's smart and beautiful, and the best thing that ever happened to me. Damon felt like the ground was disappearing under his feet. A daughter. He had a daughter. A 7-year-old little girl he'd never met. never held, never knew existed. Why didn't you tell me? His voice was barely a whisper. Why didn't you let me know? Gabriel's face crumpled. Your mother said she would take her away from me. Said with your money and her connections, she could prove I was unfit. Could take Kennedy and I'd never see her again. I couldn't risk it. I couldn't lose my baby. So you chose this? Damon gestured at the street, at her torn clothes, at the cardboard sign on the ground. You chose poverty? You chose to live like this? His voice was rising again. I chose to keep my daughter, Gabriel said firmly, and for the first time her voice was strong. I chose to keep her safe. I worked 3 jobs trying to make ends meet, but I got sick last year, lost my jobs, lost our apartment. My Aunt Ruth tried to help, but she's old and sick herself. Kennedy's staying with her now, but Ruth can't take care of her much longer. So yes, I ended up here on this street, begging, but my daughter is safe. She's fed. She has a roof over her head, and your mother never found her. Damon's whole body was shaking. Rage was building inside him like a fire. Rage at his mother for what she'd done. Rage at himself for not seeing it, for not protecting Gabriel, for not knowing about his daughter, for 8 years of missing her life. Where is she? He asked. Where's Kennedy? Gabriel hesitated. Why? She asked carefully. Why do you want to know? Because she's my daughter, Damon said, and his voice broke on the word daughter. Because I've missed 8 years of her life and I can't get those back. But I can be there now. I can meet her. I can... He stopped, overcome with emotion. Please, Gabriel. Please let me meet my daughter. Gabrielle studied his face for a long moment. Then slowly, she nodded. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Damon pulled out his phone and called Jerome. Take us to the nearest restaurant, he said. Then he looked at Gabrielle. When did you last eat? She looked away, ashamed. 2 days ago. Damon felt that knife in his chest twist deeper. He gently took her arm and led her to the car. Jerome's eyes widened when he saw Gabrielle, but he didn't say anything. Just drove. At the restaurant, Damon ordered food. Lots of food. Gabrielle tried to eat slowly, tried to be dignified, but her hunger won. She ate like someone who hadn't seen a real meal in weeks, because she hadn't. Damon watched her, and every bite she took felt like another piece of his heart breaking. I want to meet Kennedy, he said quietly. Today. Right now. Gabrielle nodded. She's with Aunt Ruth. In the old neighborhood. Damon called his office and canceled his meeting. Money could wait. Business could wait. His daughter couldn't. They drove to a small apartment building. The paint was peeling and the elevator was broken, so they climbed 5 flights of stairs. Damon's heart was pounding harder than it ever had. With every step, he got more nervous. What if Kennedy didn't like him? What if she was scared of him? What if she hated him for not being there? Gabrielle knocked on a door. An old woman answered. Aunt Ruth. Her eyes went wide when she saw Damon, but Gabrielle just nodded at her. It's okay, Gabrielle said softly. Then a little girl appeared in the doorway. Small, beautiful, with big brown eyes that looked exactly like Damon's eyes. She had her hair in 2 braids, and she wore a simple dress that looked a little too small. Kennedy looked up at Damon with curiosity but no fear. Mama, she said. Who's this? Damon's eyes filled with tears. He couldn't speak, couldn't move. Gabrielle knelt down next to Kennedy. Baby, she said gently. This is someone very special. This is your daddy. Kennedy's eyes went wide. My daddy? She whispered. You found my daddy? Damon dropped to his knees, not caring that the hallway floor was dirty. Hi, Kennedy, he said, and his voice was shaking. Hi, sweetheart. Kennedy looked at him carefully. Then she smiled. That smile. It was Gabriel's smile and his smile mixed together. The most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. Hi, Daddy, she said shyly. And just like that, Damon's heart that had been broken for 8 years started to heal. Not completely, not all at once, but it started. He spent the next hour talking to Kennedy. She told him about her favorite color, purple, her favorite food, pizza, how she wanted to be a doctor when she grew up. She showed him the drawings she'd made. She asked him questions about where he lived and if he had a dog and if he liked to read books. Every word she said, every smile she gave, every time she called him Daddy, Damon fell more in love. This was his daughter, his little girl, and he'd missed so much. When Kennedy went back inside to play, Damon stood in the hallway with Gabrielle. "I'm going to fix this," he said firmly. "All of it." Gabrielle looked at him with tired eyes. "How?" she asked. "You can't just fix 8 years." Damon took her hands. "You're right. I can't get those years back, but I can make sure you and Kennedy never go another day without a home, without food, without safety. I'm going to get you an apartment. A good one. I'm going to make sure Kennedy goes to the best school. I'm going to get you medical care and—" "Damon," Gabrielle interrupted. "I don't want your money." He looked at her, surprised. "I want Kennedy to know her father," Gabrielle continued. "I want her to be safe and happy. But I don't need you to rescue me. I need you to be her dad. That's all." Damon nodded slowly. "Then that's what I'll be," he said. "But let me help. Please, you've been fighting alone for 8 years. Let me fight with you now." Gabrielle's eyes filled with tears again. "And your mother?" she asked quietly. Damon's jaw tightened. "My mother and I need to have a conversation," he said. "A long one. About the things she's done. About the lies she told. About the family she destroyed." His voice was hard. "She kept me from my daughter. She drove away the woman I loved. She's going to have to face what she did." That night, Damon made sure Gabrielle and Kennedy moved into a hotel, a nice one, with room service and soft beds. He made sure they had everything they needed. Then he drove to his mother's mansion. It was time for the truth to come out. Time for all the lies to end. He didn't know what would happen next. Didn't know if he and Gabrielle could ever be what they once were. 8 years was a long time, so much pain, so much damage. But he knew one thing for certain. He had a daughter, and nothing, not his mother, not his money, not his pride, nothing would keep him from being the father Kennedy deserved.